What's up, guys, and welcome to another video. Hope everybody is doing absolutely fantastic. Today I will be doing a Q&A. Feels like it's been a while since I last did one. Asked my followers if they had any questions which they wanted to ask me, and boy, did they deliver. We got a lot of good ones. I picked out some of my favorites, some of the ones which I wanted to answer. So let's crack on, shall we? In no particular order. If you had to start your career from scratch right now, what would you do? So, assuming I have no money, I have no followers, but I still have the same brains and skill set which I currently have now, what I would do is I would go on an absolute mad one on social media and just start building my platform as fast as I possibly could do. It's going to be annoying and it's going to take time, my time, because I'm not going to have any money to hire an editor. So it's going to require quite a lot of manual work to edit the video. So I wouldn't be doing anything too complex. I would just be sitting down and I would just be talking to the camera and putting some basic clips over the footage, like I did back in the day when I started my YouTube channel. Right at the beginning, I was editing everything myself for at least the first 2 years. To begin with, I'm not going to really be able to make much money from the videos, the views, and the following. So what I would do to start getting as much revenue as possible to begin with would be to just offer my services as a coach. I don't want to do anything that's going to cost me money or have overheads, and coaching is one of those things where the main cost is just my time. And since I do have my time, that is something which I'd be able to give up, and I should be able to make a decent amount of money. If I was going hardcore with the social media, no doubt the platforms would start growing. Maybe one of them would really pop off, and then once I got to the point where I've started to establish myself on social media once again, then having a following gives you a hell of a lot more options in terms of making money. Next question. If I wake up at 5 in the morning and I want to hit the gym at 6 in the morning, what is the best natural pre-workout? For me, in that situation, I would just drink a coffee. That is realistically all I would need first thing in the morning, especially at that time. I don't really have enough time to eat food and let it digest. I really don't like training when I've got a stomach full of food. So I would just ensure that the night before you have a substantial meal, enough proteins, carbs, ensure that your glycogen stores are fully replenished, and then you should be able to, have a decent workout in the morning. If you're feeling sluggish and tired, then you need to get more sleep. Go to bed earlier. Simple as that. Once you finish the workout, ensure you get some nutrients into your system as soon as you can do. Next question. Should I risk a high-paying job to start a business? So assuming this person is getting it like over 200 grand a year, that's a pretty decent job. Should you risk it? Walk away from it to pursue something else? It's a good question. I think first of all, you just need to ask yourself, this job which you are currently working at the moment, are you enjoying it? Is it fulfilling? Is it satisfying? Is there room for earning more money and getting promoted later on down the line? If not, if it's the opposite, whereby you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling demotivated, you're not getting any sense of pleasure or purpose from it, and you are actually really stressed out, then I would get out of that situation as quickly as you can do. But one thing you need to understand, whenever you start your own business, it's not like this flashy, amazing lifestyle which a lot of entrepreneurs will portray, particularly on social media. It is hard graft. And it does come with more stress. It does come with sacrifices, both social parts of your life and in relationships as well. And I think one of the biggest downsides of starting your own business versus having a job is usually when you work in that 9 to 5, a lot of the time you can get yourself a weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, you don't go to work, you have the weekend off, which is like pretty cool. I remember back in the day when I worked 9 to 5, I had that. And I would actually walk out of the office or the shop, the place where I was working, and I could just immediately switch off from work, and then it was just me time. When you own your own business, it is literally nonstop all day, every day. So it's extremely difficult. But I'm sure you already know that. If it was me, all day, every day, I would leave, walk away and do my own thing, because it's just me. I don't like working for other people. I don't like having a boss. And I get a great sense of purpose and reward from building something from nothing, which I 100% own. Next question. Do you feel like Dubai is a place you can go with nothing and make something of yourself? You could do, for sure. Although coming to a place like Dubai where the cost of living is pretty high with nothing, it's going to be difficult. Maybe not the smartest move. There's plenty of other cities around the world which are cheaper in terms of cost of living, where you can still network, meet people, and progress with your career. But now that I think about it, you don't really need to be in a city at all to make something of yourself. You could literally be living at home with your parents and be making videos in your bedroom and actually make something of yourself. It's actually crazy. All you need is a laptop, computer, camera, and internet connection. And you can actually build some big platforms on social media and actually build businesses. It's crazy. But if you actually want to go and network with people and meet people, definitely moving to a city would be a decent option. But don't move to a city which costs an absolute fortune, particularly if you're not earning any money in the first place. What's good advice for a young man to become successful and to be like you? Love the videos. Well, I think first of all, you need to have this ambition. You need to have these goals. You need to envision this lifestyle which you want to live in the future. Okay, because there's lots of people who are actually pretty comfortable and content living a fairly ordinary life. And if you are that type of person, then you're just not going to want it badly enough to be in a position, let's say, for example, that I'm in. I knew when I was younger, in my teens, early 20s, like I visioned this lifestyle which I wanted to have for myself. And I was going to do whatever it would take to get myself into that position. I was prepared to take risks. I was prepared to make sacrifices. I was prepared to do the things which I didn't want to do and what a lot of other people didn't want to do. I'd also say it's important for you to surround yourself with driven, successful people and try as much as possible to minimize distractions, to keep focused, to have good routines, good habits, and just don't give up when times get tough. You always have to have this belief inside of you that everything's going to be okay. This belief that no matter what happens, you'll be fine. Advice for selling fitness programs online when you don't have a huge following. I imagine a lot of people want to do this, particularly people that want to get into the fitness industry. But the problem is, if you don't have much of a following, the likelihood of you being able to sell large amounts of training plans is going to be very slim. Okay. So any training plans that you do sell, you're not going to be making a huge amount of money because you're not going to be charging a huge amount for those plans in the first place. What I would focus on is selling high ticket items. So focusing on online coaching. I've seen this myself. I have a couple of friends who don't have the biggest platforms on social media. They don't have a lot of followers, but they know what they're talking about. They're good coaches. They know how to sell and market themselves. And they just sell their service for a very high price. So maybe they only work with 5 to 10 clients, but they charge a premium price for those clients to be working with that coach. And they make a decent amount of money from it. So they don't need a huge amount of followers. So I would really focus on being the best online coach that you could possibly be and just learn how to market and sell your service to those followers that you do have. Of course, at the same time, try and grow your social media platforms. I wouldn't advise going into spanking a load of money into ads, even though it can give you some returns. It's definitely a risky one if you don't have much money to begin with. It's very easy to burn a lot of cash with ads, particularly if you don't know what you're doing or you're not doing it properly. But that's what I would do. What's more important, the grind, genetics, or knowledge when it comes to the gym? In my opinion, I mean, if you have all three, then that's absolutely great. You look phenomenal. But most of the time, if you've got at least two of them, I think you will be okay. So let's say, for example, if you've got the grind and you've got the genetics, then you don't really need to be knowing what the hell you're doing. You'll just get results, just from going to the gym and lifting heavy weights. There's a lot of people like that who go to the gym. They don't really know what they're doing, but because they just have sick genetics and they train hard, they look good. And then the same thing goes for people, let's say, for example, if they've got genetics and the knowledge, they could go to the gym maybe twice a week or even 3 times a week. And because they know exactly what exercises to be doing, how many reps, sets, and they know what they need to do with their nutrition, they can get away with putting in the least amount of effort, but getting the highest return in terms of results. And then the final one, I guess this is the trickiest one. If you've got really bad genetics, but you know what you're doing, and you put in 100% effort and intensity in training sessions, you can almost outwork poor genetics to some extent. But everything needs to be optimal with your diet and with your training. And you need to be going in every single session. You have to be extremely disciplined. But that one is probably the toughest one. If you do have bad genetics, you're almost going to need to have or live a monk-life existence to outwork those bad genetics and to look really good. With everything you know today, what would you do differently if you had to start over with online training? So let's assume we go back to the position which I was in, where I had been coaching on a one-to-one basis for a couple of years. I'd just transitioned and started into doing the online coaching. What I would have done is I would have immediately just stopped doing the one-to-one coaching, because that was eating into my time and energy. And I would have just gone way more hardcore with promoting myself and advertising it on social media. Because what I noticed in 2017, as soon as I went all in on YouTube, the demand for my services went sky high, and I was able just to charge a premium price for my online coaching. So I was making good money. But where I would have changed things is I was at a point where I was doing too much work and I wasn't able to scale what I was doing. And what I would have done back in the day, I would have just started an online coaching business. So I would have just hired other coaches, taught them everything that I know, make sure that they are following the same values and principles which I believe in, and I would have just taken on more clients and then just allocated those clients to those coaches. And I would have assumed they would have also got results. I would have just been able to continue to scale it, hire on more coaches, take on more clients, and obviously I'd be taking a percentage of everyone that I was bringing on board. I may potentially do it again in the future, but that is definitely something which I would have done differently. What do you do to make your mind free, where you forget everything else? This is something which has become more of an issue, particularly over the past few years. Maybe because there's just more going on, more responsibility, more stress, more that I'm thinking about. I've noticed it's harder for me to switch off. So now that I think of it, the times when I'm actually like completely away from work and present in the moment tends to be usually when I'm traveling, when I'm in a new place and I'm just exploring. I'm like just completely lost in the new environment that I'm in. Especially if I'm not filming anything for YouTube or doing any social media stuff. And I also find if I'm just hanging out with my girl, I usually tend to just switch off. I'm just completely present with her and whatever it is that we're doing in the moment, which is great. However, I have noticed that I don't want to switch off for too long, because especially with everything that I'm doing, it's good for me to be, constantly thinking and working the majority of the time. If I take too much time off, I find it hard for me to get back into the zone. So I do have to kind of be careful with how much time I do spend traveling, and also how much time I'm spending with my girl, because I noticed that the longer that I spend with my girl, that I just become less productive. There's less time for me to be creative. I'm not like reading or listening to podcasts, and you just get a bit soft and lazy. So just setting specific times where you're going to be working and then you're going to be having that time to kind of recharge. Usually I like to do this on a Sunday, but I do feel as though if I can successfully master the art of meditation, then I would be able to declutter my mind, and I would for sure have deeper, longer, more efficient sleeps. Mike, why don't you compete in Mike, why don't you compete in bodybuilding? That's a good question. I have, if anyone didn't realize, done this before back in the day, in 2014 and 15, I believe. It was a great experience for sure to know what it is really like to be hungry and what it is, or what is required to get yourself into absolute peak physical condition. However, it is an extremely demanding, energy sapping task. And I'm at a point now where for me to win a bodybuilding show, it's not, I wouldn't find it that rewarding. I'd just be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I know other people may find it extremely rewarding, and particularly back in the day when I did it, when I was 24, 25, I found it really rewarding. But now, not so much. There's other things which I find more rewarding. Okay, seeing, let's say, for example, my podcast channel, seeing that grow by 500,000 subscribers, or seeing my revenue double, or seeing my clothing company, double the revenue, things like that. I find that more rewarding. But in order for me to reach those goals, it's going to take time, effort, and that's something which I will not be able to do if I'm in the middle of prep when energy is low and I'm just completely obsessed and focused on the task at hand. So you've got to pick what it is that you're working towards and what your goals are. You can't be doing too many things at one time. So, that's why I wouldn't really compete again. And to be honest with you, there isn't a huge amount of money in it. I know maybe if you're competing at the Olympia and some of the bigger competitions, you get a decent cash reward if you win, but it's not enough for me to really want to go and compete. And then I guess one of the biggest factors that is off-putting is the fact that in order for me to actually have a suitable chance at placing, I'm going to need to pump myself full of steroids, realistically. Because now the standard is so high and the mass and conditioning that these guys are bringing on stage is crazy. And you just can't do that naturally. You have to be taking, probably a concoction of anabolics in order to get your physique into that condition. It's something I don't really want to do. So, yeah, that answers the question. Maybe I'll do it one more time, but we'll see. Next question. How do you break up with a girlfriend that isn't on your level of productivity? Well, I mean, I'm trying to understand your situation. So I imagine you've got quite a lot of goals. You're trying to be productive. You're getting stuff done. And then there's your girl who is maybe the complete opposite. Maybe she hasn't got much going on. She doesn't really have any hobbies. She's just lazy and just lies around the house and doesn't do anything. And more than likely gets in the way of you doing what you want to do and affects your productivity. In which case, you have two options, really. You could just say to her, okay, I am only free during these times of the week, and this is when I can be with you. The rest of the time I'm working, I'm doing my thing. If she doesn't take that well, or that's not an option, then I would just end the relationship, because it sounds like it's just going to keep annoying you. It's going to keep getting in the way of you and your goals. And, eventually you're going to snap and you'll fall out and you'll just end up hating it. So I would end it. It's going to be a difficult conversation, no doubt. Always is when you end a relationship. But if you're having those thoughts, those doubts, you may as well get it out of the way now instead of in 6 months' time when you've just wasted your time and her time. For me personally, I don't mind if I'm with a girl, my partner, and she isn't super productive. She doesn't need to be the same as me. But it's good for her to have her own thing going on. Maybe she's working on her own project. Maybe she has her own business. Maybe she has her own hobbies. She's got stuff going on, in which case she's not going to be super demanding of my time. That's one thing which I've realized, is that if I'm in a relationship with someone who isn't doing anything with their life, maybe they're just snapping a few pictures for Instagram and that is literally it. All they want to do is spend time with you, and I do not have excessive amounts of time to be given away to my partner. Or at least I certainly don't at this point. At this point in my life, I'm in the building phase. I'm trying to make the most of my career. When I've done what I need to do and I've made the money and I start a family, then I will obviously going to spend more time with family and my partner. But at this stage, I don't have time for that. Next question. Is Bitcoin part of your portfolio allocation? Maybe you can tell the community how you invest. Well, it may come as a surprise, but I haven't spent a single penny on crypto. There's a few times when I certainly thought about dabbling into it, but I see crypto as not so much investing, but more of as gambling. I don't know what the hell is going on with crypto, Bitcoin. I think the majority of people don't know what the hell is going on. Very few people actually know, when it's going to go up and when it's going to go down. So it really is just gambling. And I think it's something for people who have money spare, which they can afford to lose. And I do have that money spare, which I can afford to lose, but I really hate to just lose money, and I hate to gamble. I really hate that feeling, the feeling of losing money. So it's never really been something which I've been interested in, and thank God, because the time when I came really close to actually investing a lot of money into it, just fucking tanked after that. A lot. So I would have lost a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people have lost a lot. Maybe it'll come back, and then everyone will kind of, make up for their losses, but crypto's just not for me. What I have done over the past few years is I've allocated a certain percentage of my income and given it away to this company, this guy I know who is an expert at investing into the stock market and shares. So I give him the money, and then he puts it in the places where he thinks it'll do best. Less exciting, more reliable, but at this stage I have comfortably have 6 figures in stocks and shares, which I don't touch. Property is something which I want to get into, but it's something which I haven't yet dived into, largely because I don't necessarily understand the property market that much. Something which I'm learning more about. But hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have my first property, and we'll continue after that. And then maybe just like things like watches. That's something which I would definitely invest into. But that's because I like watches. Next question. Do men who are not insanely rich have chances with women in Dubai? Depends. Because there's a lot of women here in Dubai who are looking for guys with money. So you're not going to have a chance with those girls. But that's a good thing, because trust me, you don't want to be spending any time with those women. Maybe short periods of time, but not long periods of time. They're not good for you. There's a lot of genuine, hardworking, honest, decent women here. And I would say you don't need to be rich to attract them. And they certainly aren't. That's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for the guys with money. I think they're just looking for a guy, yes, he has ambition. He works hard. He has at least a baseline level of income where he can look after himself. He's got a house, maybe he's got a car. He can afford to take you out on a date, go to a beach club, go to dinner, and so on. Maybe he's got enough money to travel. That's kind of enough, which is going to allow you to qualify to date and maybe have a long-term relationship with these women. But once you've kind of making a certain amount of money, you only really need to be at that stage, I would say, focusing on your appearance, your clothing, your charisma, your personality. Be charming, be entertaining, be funny, have stories to tell. And if you can do that, you'll stand out massively from the crowd here. What I've noticed is there's a lot of men here, a lot of successful men here, financially, who've made a lot of money, but they tend to have a trash personality. They're either geeks who have come into millions from whatever it might be, or maybe they've other guys who've been successful starting businesses, running businesses, but they just don't have anything about them. So for sure, as long as you've got a little bit of money, you'll be all right here. But I would say tread carefully. Dubai is certainly a place where you can have a lot of fun. But is it a place where you'd find your future wife? I don't know. As a businessman in his mid-20s, do you think it's necessary to sacrifice social parts of life? I think so, yes. I think if you are a businessman and you want to go far in life, you are going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to do things that the majority of people don't want to do. And you'll have to, maybe just spend more time working or focusing on you and whatever it is that you're doing, which is fine. But I guess you really have to define what socializing is, because there's many different ways to socialize. So let's say, for example, one form of socializing is going out, partying, getting absolutely off your face, being surrounded by party boys, with losers who aren't necessarily going anywhere in their life. You spend too much time doing that with those people, you will also not go anywhere in life. Whereas there's the kind of the complete opposite of that, where you can go out and socialize with very successful people who are driven, ambitious, hardworking, and maybe the socializing comes in a form of playing sports, or going for a hike, or doing some form of activity, or going for dinner, something like that. That, I would say, is beneficial. And particularly if you found a group of people who are doing really well in their career, then I would say socialize more with those people. If you spend more time with them, then, you're going to learn a lot more from them, and you'll be motivated and inspired and so on. So, yes. But ultimately, it all comes down to balance, because you don't want to just work throughout your 20s non-stop and not socialize or have fun. Because when I look back at my 20s, I did a lot. I had a lot of fun. I socialized a lot, particularly near the end of my 20s. And I'm glad I did, because I made some memories which I will keep with me for the rest of my life. Like, some of the funniest and most enjoyable times have been when I've been socializing. And I think sometimes in your 20s, it is a good opportunity for you to do the things which you kind of probably not going to be able to do in your 30s. When you're in your 20s, you're at a time when you probably have the least amount of responsibilities. You don't have family. You don't have staff that you're employing. You can pretty much do whatever you want. So I would certainly say go and do those things, but just make sure you're not letting that socializing get in the way of you growing and building your business and your future revenue streams. Biggest setback in your training and how you overcame it. Fortunately, touch wood, there's been no major incidents or injuries, and I guess that's largely because of the way I train. Never go too heavy, usually always under control, strict form, etc. But there was a time, I believe it was maybe 2018, where I went to LA and I was swinging around the rings in Santa Monica. I completely spangled my shoulder. Spangled means ruined, messed up. Did something with the rotator cuff. But basically, after that, I could not do any pressing movements. I had to avoid chest training and shoulder training for a solid 2-3 months. And even then, whenever it came to pressing, particularly heavy overhead pressing and bench pressing, I just couldn't go 100%. So it was very frustrating. But I never let that get in the way of my overall training and good habits. I would just go to the gym and do whatever I could that didn't cause me any pain or discomfort. So I went hardcore with the legs, arms, core, cardio, and even a little bit of back training. I did what I could. And I think whenever you are faced with an injury or a setback, so don't let that get in the way of your good routine. So many people use that as an excuse to be like, oh, I've done my back in a little bit, so I'm just going to take 2 complete months off going to the gym and doing any exercise. Why would you do that? Like, you're just going to gain, I'd imagine, quite a lot of body fat and just start to lose muscle. So then when you go back to the gym again, you're just starting from scratch. The majority of the time, there's always a way around training with an injury. And for me, even if I broke my leg and I was on crutches, I would still be hobbling my way to the gym and just be sitting on the machines doing whatever I could with a broken leg. I would still be doing it. So there usually almost always is a way to train around an injury. Next question. How do you stay lean despite partying all the time? I really hope I don't have this image of being a party boy. Maybe I did back in the day, but even then, I wasn't partying all the time. There was just periods of time where I was going to places where there was lots going on. There was lots of partying, there was lots of socializing, but I would never go too hardcore with the partying. I would usually pick a day where, okay, I'm going to drink this day. Okay, I'm not going to drink this day. I'm going to drink this day, and so on. I certainly, without a doubt, was drinking a hell of a lot more in my 20s. But what I noticed is I would never really gain weight or fat during these periods of going to parties or going on party holidays. The reason is because, first of all, if I am partying or I'm on a party holiday, I am moving a lot more than I usually would do, because I'm on my feet, I'm walking around, I'm dancing, interacting with people. So first of all, the calorie burn is much higher. And I was still going to the gym consistently. I didn't let the partying or the hangovers get in the way of me going to the gym. I would always fucking go to the gym. And then on top of that, I usually would be eating less. It wasn't the size of the meals that was reduced. It was just the frequency. I would just be having like 1 or 2 less meals per day because I would wake up late, and then at the same time, I'd just be distracted. I wouldn't be thinking about eating food. I would just be thinking about whatever the hell was going on around me because I was just completely distracted with all the entertainment. So I would end up actually losing body fat, even though I was losing strength and size. Because I was losing body fat, it gave off the impression that I actually was in better shape. So it's pretty interesting. Like some of the times when I've been in crazy condition had been at the end of a party holiday in Ibiza because I just didn't friggin' eat anything. So yeah, I think where a lot of people get it wrong is if they go out and they party, they tend to drink a lot and eat a lot. So there's just this spike in how many calories they're consuming, and they're just putting themselves in a massive surplus. For me, if I went out and partied, I would pick one over the other. It's like, okay, if I'm drinking, I'm not going to eat, because drinking, it just literally suppresses my appetite. And if I'm eating, then usually I wouldn't drink. It's one or the other. So that was just kind of how I would, go through with it. Next question. What 5 skills would you learn if you were 20 again? So I think people skills, that's very important. Just understanding people, being able to communicate with them. Secondly, learning how to sell. That's important. How to make a sale. Third of all, marketing. How to market yourself, your brand, your image, yourself. Fourth, public speaking. Definitely. I think if you have the confidence to speak in public, that will take you very far in life. And fifth, I guess the thing which I already was pretty good at, and that was the art of body recomposition as I was a coach, learning how to build muscle, lose body fat, because not only did that allow me to get into shape and make me stand out on social media, but it also allowed me to create a decent business from it, transforming other people's physiques. And then because of the experience and the knowledge which I had a lot to talk about on social media. And that is one of the things that helped to grow my social media very fast, particularly on YouTube. But that's just for me. Next question. How much alcohol do you drink? If very little, how do you find socializing and networking? You're probably aware now, I barely drink at all. Maybe just a handful of times in the year, to be honest. Last time I drank New Year's Eve. I don't have any intention in drinking anytime soon. That is largely because I'm at a point now where I don't feel like it does me any favors or provides any benefits whatsoever. And whenever I'm in a situation where I'm networking or socializing or I'm at a bar, I don't feel as though I need the alcohol to make me feel comfortable and confident. I'm at a stage now where I really enjoy my reality, and I'm actually at my most comfortable and confident when I am sober. So I think it's difficult for you for the first time to be in situations such as a club or a bar and say no to drinks and be sober, because you've probably never done it before. But once you get comfortable in that scenario being sober, it just is normal. Okay, one of the biggest eye-openers for me and experiments which I did when I was 29, I did this period of 6 months where I was sober, completely sober. And I remember near the end of it, I was in certain situations, nightclubs, bars, and so on, where everybody around me was drinking and everyone was just drunk. And because I hadn't finished my 6 months, I was just saying, nah, sorry, like I'm not drinking. And I just got comfortable and familiar being in those situations sober. And it didn't really faze me. If anything, it actually was a bit of an eye-opener to just see what everybody was like when they're in that state. And I guess it was one of the things that kind of pushed me away from being out clubbing and at bars anyway, because it just wasn't really my environment anymore. I didn't really see the point of being there. And I think, same thing. If you're ever in a situation where you feel as though you need to be drunk or under the influence in order to feel comfortable in a situation, then maybe that's not the right situation for you to be in the first place. Okay, maybe you should just stop being in those situations. But I do understand for a lot of businessmen, businesswomen, something which you may have to do to network and to socialize is to be in these situations where you're at bars or events where everybody's drinking or you get offered drinks. And it is difficult, but it's just a matter of you staying strong and having decent willpower and just saying no. I think the best thing you can say is, I don't drink. Because if you say, I don't drink, then people are just like, okay, fair enough. If you say, oh, I'm not going to drink today, or I'm not drinking today, whatever it is, then they will just be like, oh, don't be boring. And then they'll just keep, pestering you to drink until you eventually give in. But luckily, I'm not really in those situations where I'm pressured to drink anymore. A lot of people respect the fact that I don't drink. And if I do get invited to events which are in a nighttime or in a club, I just don't go anymore because I prefer to go to bed early. Sounds boring, but I'm at a point now where I can be very selective and choose who I will be networking with or where I will be networking. And if I don't like the idea of being surrounded by drunk people or going to a place where it's going to involve drinking, then I just won't go. Final question. Are you at a stage in your life where you're mainly enjoying the fruits of your labor? I guess so. I think the point in time when I really felt like I was enjoying myself, or at least like the hard work which I'd put in throughout the years of my career, was probably at the age of 28, 29. I definitely remember coming out of a relationship and then for the first time being single, having disposable income and basically being able to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. I was really having fun. And I guess at that point, there was very little responsibility because it was just me. I didn't have any staff. The only person who I was paying was my cameraman, who turned out to be my best friend. So we spent all of 2019 literally just traveling the world, making videos and just doing whatever the hell we wanted. And I remember that was a very enjoyable point in time where I look back and I was just very carefree and my mind was very peaceful. So I don't know, I guess I'm kind of glad that I did that because there was many things which I wanted to do, experiences which I wanted to have, which I kind of got out of my system. And I learned that chasing a hedonistic lifestyle where you're just waking up every day, doing whatever you want, having fun all the time, it's great, but it isn't massively rewarding or fulfilling, and it gets boring after a while. So I think it's important for you throughout your life, once you've worked really hard and you've hit those goals, go out and celebrate and enjoy yourself. But then once you've done that, come back, set new goals, and continue to keep working and pursuing your purpose, whatever that might be. And I feel like the age of, I guess it was realistically 31, where I kind of snapped out of that. And I was like, right, okay, new goals now, new things I want to do, having fun, doing the parties, whatever it might be. That's got old now, pretty boring. My priorities have changed. So, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying myself, but I know there's a lot more work to be done. So that is where we're currently at. And that is the end of today's video. I hope you have all enjoyed it. I have no idea how long it's been, but it's been good. I've enjoyed answering those questions. Of course, make sure that you check out my other channel, the podcast channel, First Things First. Hopefully we'll have a very interesting guest for the next podcast episode. And as always, make sure you check out my other videos, subscribe to my channel, and give this one a thumbs up. So thank you very much for watching. If you're wondering where I got this slick hoodie from, it's mine. It's on the website, thirstofficial.com. I'm wearing a schmedium, and it's pretty damn comfy. So go and get one for yourself. See you soon.